Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we're taking a look at the XTOUC Seed. This is a kind of interesting knife, and it's been kind of a whirlwind for me reviewing this knife. A lot of mixed feelings here. But before we get into the review, I want to give a big shout out to XTOUC. They reached out to me, asked me if I wanted to take a look at this knife, and I said yes, absolutely, I would love to. So they sent it over. That's really awesome. I always appreciate it when I get to work with a brand like this. So thanks, guys. You're real ones. Alrighty, let's go ahead and start this review, and let's do our blade length measurement. This knife is kind of, I don't want to say it's a weird size, but its size is deceptive. When I read specs for this knife, I expect it to be a lot smaller than it actually is. It's not a large knife though. We have a blade that is 2.5 inches long, pretty much exactly. So if you live in a legality where you're restricted to a 3-inch or even 2.5-inch knife, this should be legal for you. It might be just a hair over 2.5 inches, but one single sharpening or maybe two good sharpenings will fix that for you. Sharpened edge is just about 2.25 inches. So not a large knife by any means. And the overall length, this guy's small enough that we can do an overall length, just about 6 inches. So yeah, not a huge knife. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Let's start off with our rats. As always, there's the 1, and here's the 2. So yeah, definitely shorter than the 2, but it's quite a bit chunkier. And it's chunky in a good way, in my opinion. We'll talk about that more here in a second. Let's bring out our Civivis. There's the Elementum, or in this case, the Elementum 2. Here's the Praxis. Yeah, not a big knife at all. It is a pretty tall knife, though. Besides just being wide and fat and chunky, it's pretty tall, pretty broad. You can see here compared to the Elementum. Let's bring out our USA made comparisons. Here is the Spyderco PM2 and our Benchmade bug out, of course. Nice. And let's go ahead and compare against some other small knives. Now, first we're going to compare against some knives that I thought were going to be in kind of the same size range as this knife. So here's the Civivi Baby Banter. And yeah, I mean, even looking at them here, their size isn't off by much, but this feels like a substantially bigger knife. Here's a CGRB Mica, because why not? So yeah, I mean, not terribly larger than the Baby Banter, but it feels a lot more substantial in hand. In fact, this is kind of like if the Baby Banter just ate all-you-can-eat buffet at Golden Corral every night for the rest of their lives and just ballooned. Let's go ahead and compare against a couple other like smallish knives. Here's the Civivi Zizzle. This is a new holiday gift pack thing from Civivi. Here's the Kershaw Iridium. Why is nothing wanting to stand up today? It's because I normally have these books the other way around. But there we go. And actually, the Civivi Zizzle might not be a good choice because it might be a limited run. Here's the QSP Penguin. Sweet. Alrighty. What are we looking at for our materials? Well, we have a drop point D2 blade with a stonewash. We have green micarta scales. In this case, there are a couple different versions available with a G10 pivot collar. I like that it's teardrop shaped. Liner lock, steel liners, running on bearings, and we have a steel deep carry pocket clip. Let's go and cut some stuff. Hey guys, so I got a little update on the XTOUC Seed, and unfortunately, it's not a happy update. Let me show you what I mean. We're going to put on some gloves because safety first. We're all about that on the Gideon Stuff YouTube channel, as you guys know. Wink, wink. Okay, so you can see here the lockup is very, very early. And as I carried this knife out of the box, it was really solid. No lock rock or anything. As I carried it, I started to notice a little bit of lock rock, and I thought, well, maybe that'll wear in. It has not, and the lock bar has not moved over. And I started thinking that might be a little bit weird. And I was cutting with this knife, and I had it in this grip, and I felt some give in that blade. And I was like, that's not good. So I started just putting pressure on the spine with my thumb. And we're going to put this finger here just to kind of hold things. I say as I don't do that. So this knife I can disengage by pressing on the spine. Let's actually go back here. Actually, it's safer up here. Oops. That's not good. That's not good at all. So we're going to see if we can fix that. And I don't know if I'll put it in. I'm pretty sure I'm going to put this clip in the review for this knife. I will probably film the fix, but I might put that in a separate video. So if I do, I will indicate that on screen here. Real quick, let's do a little bit of spine whacking just because. Yeah. Yeah, it does not take very much at all. Let's do it even lighter. So, yeah, no bueno, but we'll see if we can fix it. Hey everybody, you ready to do some review cutting? I kind of am. It's a beautiful November day here in the Chihuahuan Desert, but I have been really busy lately. It's currently Tuesday, November 26th or 27th. What is today? The 26th. And I've been trying to straighten out everything with work and stuff so I can run up north for Thanksgiving for the holidays. And I got so busy with work and everything, all my responsibilities down here, that I realized that I don't have, I'm running out of filmed reviews to schedule out. And I need to have a review video available for my members on Thanksgiving. And so that's what this video is going to be. So we're going to film review cutting right now. I'm currently on my lunch break, and then we'll film the review tomorrow morning. And then I'm going to be leaving Thursday morning to drive 6 hours to hopefully make it up north in time for Thanksgiving dinner. But anyways, today we're talking about the XTOUC Seed, and I really wanted to get the review for this knife out before the end of the year because XTOUC sent me this knife, and I made a couple of videos about this knife, but I obviously haven't made my full review yet, and so I wanted to get that done before 2024 was out. Very interesting knife. I've been carrying this quite a bit. Had a little bit of a back and forth with this knife. There's some things that I love, some things that I'm not a big fan of, but let's go ahead and just get into it. Let's start off with those ergonomics. This knife on paper seems a lot smaller than it is in hand. I thought this was going to be like a fifth pocket carry knife, and when we get to the carry, you'll see that you can do that with it. But honestly, this is kind of a small, full-size knife. The ergonomics are actually very good. The scales are contoured. As you can see here, we've got micarta. And it's very hand-feeling. This feels great in the hand. There's no hot spots. That clip disappears pretty nicely. And we have a good finger choil here. This is a finger choil that I actually like because it allows me to get a really good full grip on this knife. This grip here doesn't really make sense. Even if that edge came all the way back to here, it just really wouldn't make sense for this knife. This right here makes a lot more sense. Gives you a lot of control over the knife. And yeah, overall, the ergos are just fantastic. How's that action? Well, we're running on bearings, blade hole opener. The detent feels good. The reverse flick is really nice on this guy. Thumb flick, works. For some reason, when I first got this knife, I couldn't get the angle on the thumb flick just right, but you know, I broke myself in, a little bit of practice, and you can get it no problem. Good little action. How does it carry? Well, we have this this deep carry steel pocket clip. The screws are not recessed. The clip is recessed into the scales though, and it's reversible. So you're welcome, lefties. Let's go ahead and take a look at this guy in the pocket. Despite having the mushroom shrews, I'm exhausted. The mushroom screws, it goes in and out of the pocket really, really nicely. This is actually a very, very good clip. I'm a big fan of this clip. In the fifth pocket, you can get in there. It's a little bit of a big fifth pocket carry knife, but you know, it works if that's what you want to do. All right, let's go ahead and do some cutting. So we have a D2 blade. Very interesting blade shape, actually. I want to talk a bit about this blade shape. I think this is a very smart blade. So we have this drastic drop. I would call this a drop point blade. This is a drop point blade. This drop brings your tip really, really low, so you can get to utility cuts very, very well. However, you also have pretty much belly the entire way. So you're maximizing your available usable edge length while having a short blade and a big finger choil. So not only do they do the finger choil well, but they got the blade designed in such a way that you're still maximizing your usable edge and giving you a really versatile knife as well. Again, that low tip is going to make it great for utility cuts. It's nice and thin, so you're going to be able to dig splinters. This belly is going to give you a little bit of a little more extra edge for slicing, and you can even do rock cuts with this a little bit. So yeah, I'm impressed with the blade shape. Let's go ahead and cut some stuff with it, shall we? Cuts just fine. Let's go down here. Probably could have used a new edge on this knife before I sat down to, or before I got out here to do review cutting, but that's okay. Yeah, and utility cuts, excellent job on those utility cuts. All right, let's grab our rope. Do a little pull. Nice. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of this. Oh my goodness. Like I said, yeah, that is fantastic. This is a really, really nice blade shape because you can see there on those kind of rolling, rocking cuts, I was able to get a lot of power behind, you know, this pretty tiny blade. So yeah, that was excellent. Nothing to complain about right there at all. Alrighty, let's get our pool noodle out here. Do we have enough edge to do this? I'm probably going to slip up and get in the choil, but we technically have enough edge, so let's go ahead and try. We'll cut this little piece off first. Yep, there I am in the choil. Okay, that felt really, really good going through there. Let's do one more, see how thin I can go. Yeah. Just got caught in the choil because I don't have much edge to work with, but felt very good going through there. We didn't bind, we didn't get caught up, we didn't snag, except for on the choil. Yeah, that's pretty good. So as far as the performance on this knife goes, I really like this blade. I really like these ergos. Let's go back to the table and give you guys my full thoughts on this thing. And we are back. Things might be looking a little bit different. I am currently working on redoing my set. In fact, I got a whole new desk. Things are still a mess. I'm just realizing now that I need to scoot all this over a little bit, or at least put more stuff filling in that area right there. But yeah, I've got a full video that I'm working on about this. Let me know if you guys are excited for that. Keep an eye out for it. Yeah, we've got a little bit of a change here. and it's still a work in progress. Also, I have a light up there now, which should help with reviews, and then we're still working on organizing the top shelf. But there we go. Okay, sneak peek at, I don't know, sneak peek. This first look at the new Gideon Stuff set. However long this set lasts, right? Typically my sets seem to come in cycles of like 8 months to a year. So there we go. Anyways, on to the XTOUC Seed. I'm still trying to figure out exactly the right camera positioning for this set, but we'll see. All right, let's start off with what I'm liking. Number one, I do like the way this knife looks. It kind of reminds me of a missile. Or like, especially like a cartoon bomb. It kind of reminds me of the artwork that fighter pilots would put on the noses of their planes. You know, you have like those cartoon bombs. I don't know why I get that vibe from this knife, but I do. Maybe it's because this kind of looks like an eye, and we got this big, like, blunt kind of nose. I think it's a cool looking knife. It stands out. It's a little bit different. You know, that's something that's kind of hard to do in the knife world these days, and it's nice to see something that kind of stands out a little bit. As far as the looks go too, there's a lot of things here that I also like aesthetically, specifically this pivot collar. Now, you guys know I love pivot collars. I am a sucker for pivot collar. Pivot collar. I promise English is my first language, guys. I love pivot collars. It's such an easy way to spice up a knife design, make it look a little classier. And I like the teardrop shape here. I like the red against the green. That's really, really nice. The micarta itself is good quality micarta. Yeah, this knife, it's got a little bit of personality to it. And I like that a whole lot. Next thing, the pocket clip is reversible. Lefties rejoice. This is a very lefty-friendly knife, so I really appreciate that. And the pocket clip works pretty good. Pocket clips are really important on small knives like this, in my opinion, because this might be a knife that you want to, you know, put in your watch pocket or something like that, and you really want to make sure that it's not falling out. But yeah, this clip's a good one. The blade, I really, really like this blade. I put this knife through a lot of use. I tried to clean it up before this video, but we did not quite make it. Probably needs some edge work done on it. But I really, really like this blade. The D2 steel seemed to be okay. Seemed to be pretty average steel, and for the price, or average D2, and for the price of this knife, I'm not complaining at all. The stonewash on the blade is nice. I'm a big fan of a stonewash. Honestly, this blade would look a lot worse than it does if it didn't have a stonewash. Stonewashes are great for hiding wear marks, so that's really cool. I like this grind here, how it's kind of an arc. That's just fun. It's not something you see all the time. But the blade itself is incredibly cleverly designed. So we've got a decently thick blade stock for a knife of this size. I mean, it's not a pry bar, but decently thick. However, we come down to a pretty fine edge. We've got a flat grind, which I think was a great choice for this kind of broad blade. With this flat grind, you're going to maintain a lot of strength out towards your edge, but because you have so much blade to grind, you're going to be able to come down to a decently thin edge, which you do, and this knife slices pretty dang well. The other thing I really like, and I went over a lot of this at the review, so we're going to kind of keep it brief, but the tip is low, so you can get to your utility cuts very, very nicely, but you have all belly, which means that you can maximize the amount of edge length on this small blade for big slices. You can, if you grab it in like a pinch grip like this, you can do rocking cuts really effectively. You guys saw that on the rope cut. Yeah, just a really, really interesting little blade. Honestly, the blade to me is one of the highlights of this knife, if not the best feature on this knife. Excellent, excellent blade. I really, really enjoyed using this knife because of that blade. Now let's go ahead and talk about the action. Running on bearings, the action's good. The detent is right where you want it to be. The thumb flick works well. For some reason, I had to kind of get used to it, but I think that was just me. Reverse flick works well. Looks like you know, you get a little bit of access cut off by that liner, and you do, but it's still easy enough to get in there. It is easier to reverse flick this if you're using your left hand, so lefties, reverse flick might be the way to go. For, yeah, the thumb flick lefty is not as easy, and, I mean, granted, I'm not left-handed, so it could just be me fumbling it. But yeah, the action's fine, the bearings are smooth. Yeah, don't really have a whole lot of complaints with this action whatsoever. Next thing I like, the ergonomics. The ergonomics are another really, really nice part about this knife. You have a forward finger choil here, and this is one of those knives where I think a forward finger choil is actually a great idea. And it is big enough for me. It might be too small for some guys, but I think by and large, they did it all right. And when I grab this knife, I feel so locked in. So the micarta feels great. You guys know micarta feels great most of the time. And these scales are contoured really, really nicely. So this knife fills your hand. I mean, man, I got a big, meaty hammer grip on this thing. But it's a small knife. However, because the ergonomics are designed the way they are, it feels much more substantial. This is a knife that, it's a full-fisted knife. When I first got this knife, again, I was expecting it to be a lot smaller. I thought this was going to be primarily a secondary carry for me, watch pocket type of knife. A couple of days, I did carry this as a secondary knife just because I carry multiple knives, but a couple of days I carried this as my primary because honestly I feel like it's big enough to be a primary knife. Yeah, those ergos go a long way. The grip back here is fine, but this right here, this is excellent. You get all kinds of control over that blade. Really, really nice all the way around. Just really, really nicely thought out ergos. And that's really important with a small knife. More than with a large knife, you've got to nail the ergos on a small knife. And the last thing I want to talk about in terms of positives is the price. These are less than 30 bucks. They're like 27 bucks. That is incredible. And sometimes I've seen these on sale on Amazon for like 23 bucks too. That's really, really a great value. Normally I don't talk about price until the very end, but this is a good price. So I want to bring it up now. Okay, let's go ahead and go into some of my negatives and nitpicks. Number one, I wish I had flat screws. This is a nitpick and not necessarily a negative because the screws really don't affect the knife in and out of the pocket. But it's always better to just have flat screws with your pocket clip. However, the clip is inset to the liners or to the scales, so that helps a whole lot. Next thing, T8 hardware. That's kind of just the way, or T6 hardware, that's kind of just the way things are. Jimping here is absolutely useless. I don't even know why they put jimping on there. You've got 4 little jimps and then nothing. I think they could have, honestly, I think it would have been cool to have the jimping all the way down to like here. That would have been really, really fun. Get your finger out here to do those tasks. I think it would have been great. Access to the lock bar is fine. It's not the best, but it's fine. It's kind of a nitpick. I think it could be a little bit better. We already talked about access to that hole. Could be better. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the big negative. Out of the box, the lockup on this was way too early, and this knife closed on my hand during use. Now, I have gone ahead and fixed that problem. I have a whole video about it. I'll link it up here. But that's not something I should have had to fix. Safety protocols or safety features should be good to go from the factory. So that's not something I'm a big fan of. In fact, that's a huge, huge bummer. Now, could it just be my knife? Maybe. I've seen other people. Well, I haven't watched anyone else's videos on this knife, but I know there's videos out there about this knife where people are pretty positive about this thing. So maybe it was just mine that was a lemon. Yeah, that's not good. That's really not good. So what are my final conclusions on this knife? Well, difficult to say. Honestly, reviewing this knife was a lot like reviewing last week's knife, the Beyond EDC Gara. Kind of interesting that I reviewed these two back to back. I love a lot about this knife. I think this is a very clever design. I think this is a great EDC knife. But the lockup issues are just, oh, that's not okay. That's not okay. Now, I fixed mine, okay? This one is good to go. And that's important because I'm going to be giving this knife away to my channel members. And I would not give a knife away that I thought was unsafe. But the thing is you shouldn't have to do that work, right? That should be XTOUC's job. The other thing though is $27. And maybe this one was just a dud. It might have just been this particular knife out of the dozens and dozens that they make that had some issues. And so what I'm left with at the end of the day is a little bit of a conundrum. Do I recommend this knife or not? I absolutely recommend this design. I think this is a great design. But based on my own experience, I don't know if I can recommend it. Again, though, it might just be this single knife. And that's the tricky part about being a gear reviewer, right? Do I have a dud, or is this a wider problem? And I would recommend that you guys go and watch other people's videos on this knife to see if they've noticed any issues or have any of the same problems that I've had with it. If that's the case, probably stay away. But if this was just a one-off, I can honestly recommend this knife to you guys. I think it's a great design. I think XTOUC was cooking with gas when they designed this one. So I guess that's going to be where I leave you guys. Again, thank you so much to XTOUC for sending this knife over. I really, really appreciate it. And obviously, they just pulled one off their shelves to send to me. They told me that I could be honest, so I appreciate that so much. I hope I get to work with them again in the future. Yeah, big shout out to my channel members right here. If you want to become a channel member and get access to knife giveaways, you can click at the button. You can join at the button down below. No matter what tier you join at, you're entered into the giveaways, by the way. As for everyone else, if you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.